Orangutans are an unusual type of great ape. They have some interesting distinctions. They're the only Asian great ape. All of the other great apes, gorillas, bonobos, and chimpanzees, are found in Africa. So orangutans are limited today to Southeast Asia on the islands of Borneo and Sumatra. And they're also distinctive because they're the only great ape that spends the majority of their lives in the trees. The majority of their big muscle groups are from the waist up. They're also red, have big beards, a big throat sac, and probably the most distinctive thing for males are the big cheek pads, which the females don't have any of that. And on top of that, they have a very unusual social structure. They spend a lot of their adult years alone, particularly so for adult males.
They're largely solitary. Their basic unit of society is a mom and whatever baby she's currently raising. And the male is out there somewhere but not living with her. And this has always been hard for us to understand why an animal that has such a big brain, should be socially complicated, seems not to be. And we believe these days that it has to do with food supply. Orangutans are very, very keyed into their supply of fruit in a forest. Females come into cycling and ovulate in absolute synchronicity with the available food in the forest. But in general, they are less known than the other great apes simply because they live alone. So if you're going to spend your PhD thesis of 2 years in the forest studying orangutans, you spend a lot of time looking at one animal. Whereas I can go out and sit among 50 chimpanzees or 20 gorillas and learn about something from each one every minute of the day. Orangutans are omnivores, but the amount of meat on their diet is very, very small. They've been occasionally known to eat a squirrel here, a lizard there, but primarily they're eating fruits. They like ripe fruits. They're great forest rangers. They know the forest extremely well.
Their most preferred item is fruit, but that's not always available in the forest. So they have a number of other foods that they can eat as well. They can go for figs. That's a good solid fruit, probably not the most preferred, but it's a good one. When those are not available, they'll eat a huge number of different plants and plant parts. And if that is not available, they fall back to eating things like bark or scraping the inside of bark that they pull off a tree. But when food is very plentiful and there's plenty for everyone to eat, orangutans can be quite sociable with each other. So it really is a question of flexibility on their part. They are not locked into one particular way of behaving. The interesting thing, and I think that the glue that holds orangutan society together in the wild, is that females are the ones that are choosing to mate with specific males. And since they're not traveling with those males or living with those males full time, they have to find them in the forest. And part of that is listening for the vocalizations that full adult males make, this great call. And females can go to that adult male and then invite him to potentially reproduce. But that interval when a male and a female might spend some time together can be very short. It can be hours or just a couple days, and then that's it. They don't spend any more time together for a very long period. So it's very unusual among great apes, but works very, very well for orangutans. As far as we know, we experience the world through our senses in the same way that orangutans do. We have the same vision, same hearing, relatively similar sense of smell, and we know with certainty that orangutans are at least equivalent to all the other great apes in terms of mental skill. And a great example is tool use. We know that orangutans in the wild and in captivity are extraordinarily good tool users. Also, we know that they are capable of learning human language, such as sign language or written symbols. But the big question is, how do they relate then to human mental abilities? This video documents a typical research session that I'd be conducting with AZ. He would come up and sit in front of a large touch-sensitive computer screen, and he's basically doing a vocabulary review. I'm asking him to look at a variety of objects, and he's choosing the symbol name that he's learned. And he's learned to recognize and identify that symbol, and he touches it, and then he uses a send key to let me know he's finished and he's made his selection. And importantly, what it shows is that he's learned the symbol for the symbol. He hasn't just learned and memorized individual questions outside of understanding the symbol. He can also understand how to use photographs and drawings. So importantly, he's matching a concept. And the other thing that we've worked on quite a lot is his ability to understand numbers. This is a much harder concept than learning how to identify an item, because you're really naming an idea. But these are all things that orangutans can do. So stated simply, we know they're really smart.